Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio. Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 202, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
I love the fact that it is either the middle of June 2020 or the middle of February 2037.
Take your pick.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah. No, I have to keep reminding myself that it is summer now.
Right?
Right?
It's disheartening to look at the movie calendar and be like, oh, I would have watched this movie by now, before the end times. I would have watched this movie by now, you know?
I know. It's just, I mean, obviously we've been in sort of like a sort of state of lockdown for a while, but it's just, you know, I mean, in all seriousness, like there's just been all these monumental, epic, world-shifting events that just keep happening, and it's usually you get like one of those a year,
yes.
Right? And it's just been one after the other, and it has really been disorienting, you know. And it's, you know, obviously some for the worse, some are, you know, gonna hopefully be for the better. But it's been a lot. It's been a lot this year. It's almost a cliche to say it, but 2020 has just been, I mean, just bonkers. A bonkers year.
I'm ready for some 2020 hindsight.
Yeah, right. I know. I hope.
CSI Miami theme.
Wait, what?
The CSI Miami theme, you know?
Oh. Yeah.
Good old David Caruso. Nobody could deliver a line. A bad line.
Oh, no.
Quite like David Caruso.
All while putting on sunglasses.
That guy, I was thinking about, you know, the fact that he was able to get CSI Miami after having famously put a blowtorch to his career in the early 90s, right?
Right.
He bolts NYPD Blue after one season. Everybody's like, this guy's the next big thing. And he's like, you're damn right I am. It takes off and just nothing, right? And somehow, against any perceptible logic, he's offered the lead on CSI Miami, and boy, he hung on to that thing like a man who was out to the sea gasping for air.
Now, was he the first CSI star, or why would they presume that he's their guy after what he's just done? You know, his sort of track record, you know, like ditching a show that was counting on him, and then, you know, sort of tail tucked between his legs. Like, why go with Caruso?
So he after NYPD Blue, he did 2 or 3 movies that just utterly tanked. One of them was Kiss of Death, which is, I mean, maybe don't have that be the movie that you, don't have that. Like, at least just ask them to change the title.
Right.
That was with Nicolas Cage, and then he did Jade with Linda Fiorentino.
Right.
Another 1990s trivia question, right?
Right.
And maybe he did one other thing, I can't remember. And then he came back to television in the late 90s on a show called Michael Hayes, I believe it was called.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know why I know this, because I don't.
Just thinking,
I don't
like impressive.
Yeah, I don't know 2 of my 3 children's names. But I know
have you ever gone to a trivia night? You would just slay at a trivia night.
I could guess my kids' birthdays, but I can't tell you the name of David Caruso's short-lived CBS drama series that lasted for 1 season. Michael Hayes. But that didn't do well, and then you know, CSI obviously becomes a huge hit, and so then they do the spin-off in 2002, and he did like a planted pilot, you know, within the main show, and then, you know, the show comes on, and for 10 seasons he was like, I'm not making that mistake again.
Right.
And he hung on to that thing for 10 years. So, good on him. And now, here's the funny thing. Now nobody's like, whatever happened to David Caruso? Because you're like, well, he's got 10 years worth of CSI, sweet CSI bucks.
Mm-hmm,
so he really doesn't have to work now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually. This wasn't my intention, but as we record this, we are mere minutes after I just, with my wife, watched the final George Clooney ER episode.
Oh, wow.
And you talk about David Caruso, you have to imagine that Clooney looked at the Caruso playbook and was like, well, I'm definitely not doing that.
Right.
He said, with head down and eyes up, I'm definitely
a little wobble.
Not doing that. Yeah.
Cocksure
yeah, exactly.
Jiggle to his...
I was reading. I found a contemporaneous newspaper article. I sent this to you, talking about this is from when he left ER, and they talked about how he didn't hold anybody up for more money. Like as soon as the show became a hit, this is what actors do. A show becomes a hit, suddenly you're like, hey, let's renegotiate, because you need some of that Doug Ross action.
Right.
He didn't do that. He's like, I signed for 5 years. I'm gonna do what I signed up for, and that's it.
Right.
And there's a quote from John Wells, a producer. He's like, Clooney lost literally millions of dollars by not by staying on ER. Think about that.
Wow. So he done like Peacemaker and Batman? Was that during ER?
That was during ER, as was Out of Sight.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh wow. Okay. So he was, but he wasn't going to compromise the deal he had made.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm going to do my 5 years, and then and it was it was a big deal when he left. Of course,
I remember it. Yeah.
It was a sweeps event. My wife and I were watching it, and as he's like, come on, he's telling Juliana Margulies, he's like, I have to go, with his head down and eyes up, and Margulies starts crying, and then my wife starts crying, and I'm crying. It's just it was a cathartic moment, Brian.
That's great.
But I'm loving my ER rewatch right now. That's what this show is. It's just a chronicle of me working through 15 seasons of ER.
So, is it... I know I already asked you this, but now that you've passed through more seasons, I mean, how is it episodic versus serialized? Right? I mean, with a show like that where it has these characters who are so strong and memorable, and now shows are just, they bingeable, right? They make them to be bingeable. Does this feel like an older style show? Was there a serialization going on? Was it episodic just with strong characters? Like, what is this show?
This is good. This is a good question. I think that ER arrived at really the birth of what we now call peak TV. And so it was still beholden to the traditional network framework, while it made an active, lean forward into more complex storylines, storytelling, mature subject matter that we now generally just think of. Well, that's what you can do at TV, But yeah, in my media classes, I refer to a show like ER as a hybrid, right? It's episodic, serialized.
Okay.
So there's enough there where you can watch an episode and you feel like you got a meal. But there's enough little pieces there that, you got some Tupperware left in the fridge that makes you want to come back, It's the turkey sandwiches after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And it's interesting because, weirdly, I think for me personally, this type of show is more bingeable than some of our hyper serialized shows that we have today.
Sure.
Because it is very overwhelming. You know what I mean?
I can imagine that, because I imagine with some bingeable shows now you would have some filler episodes, because not every episode can be exactly right. Crazy, right? So, but with this one, if you have some sort of emergency that they have to deal with, there's always an interesting component to each episode.
Yeah, right? Like it's, it's funny because you say like, well, geez Louise, I mean, this thing lasted 15 years. And you're like, well, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But my experience over the last, again, either 40 days or 400 years watching this show, I don't know, time no longer exists. My experience has been, it's like, you just have a little snack. Here's a little 40-minute snack.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then later, usually the way our routine has become now, it's like in the morning, I'll have my morning tea, and my wife and I watch one episode, and then we'll watch another one before we go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, let's have a little snack in the morning, a little snack before you go to bed,
Right, sure. And you're visiting people you like.
That's exactly right.
They're the invitation into whatever adventure of the week is.
That's right.
Yeah.
One less person we like now. Pour one out for Doug Ross.
Nah. All these years later, all over again.
He did, by the way, he came back. This is just Zachy's man crush on George Clooney. He came back the following year for a cameo.
Oh. Okay.
So his character was in a relationship with Juliana Margulies. He leaves. She had 1 year left on her contract. So the following year, she's like, well, I'm leaving now. I'm done. And so they call up Clooney, and they're like, we want to put you in there just to kind of put a button on that relationship. Mm-hmm. And so it's literally, it's like a 30-second cameo. Mm-hmm. And he didn't, again, he's like, yeah, totally, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. He's like, pay me scale.
Huh.
And he didn't tell anybody about it. He didn't tell anybody, even on the show. Like, nobody on the show knew until they watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Even NBC didn't. This is what I find interesting. Is Warner Brothers knew, and they shipped NBC the episode, but they chopped out the bit with Clooney in it. Why? Because they didn't want NBC to ruin the surprise and promote it.
Ah, right.
And I remember in spring of 2000 watching Juliana Margulies' last episode, and her storyline resolves with her leaving Chicago to rejoin, George Clooney in Seattle because he left. And you're like, okay, well, we know how this goes. We know how the industry works. Like, she's going to go and we're never going to see him, obviously. And so she goes, and then you see like a guy in the distance, and you're like, okay, we're going to fade to black now, And the guy's coming closer. We're like, all right, going to fade to black now, coming closer, like, well, that's George Clooney.
Right.
Really well done. So, yeah, that's all, Brian.
That's amazing that after all these years, obviously that made such an impact that you remember it, right? Even before you get back to that Margulies last episode.
Yeah. It's fun for me because I said this before, I dipped in and out, so I knew the broad strokes of the arcs on the show, and certain moments stick out more. But for my wife, it's completely new.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So there's certain things that I've told her about in advance. There's certain things she doesn't know, and it's like fun for like I had before we even started watching the series, I had actually shown her like the part where Clooney comes back at the end of Juliana Margulies' last episode, so she knew where their arc was headed.
Okay.
And then I had already shown her Anthony Edwards' last episode, or part of Anthony Edwards' last episode. Okay. So she kind of knows where his arc is headed. And that's it's just fun. It's just fun for me to experience with my wife, because God bless her, she needs a little escapism in her life, and right now watching traumatic injuries in a hospital is all the escapism she has.
Right.
She's been going slowly insane because these children require homeschooling.
Yeah,
and they will not be schooled, Brian.
They
It's actually very funny because my wife. She's very kind. That's the one word I would use to describe. She's very kind. And so the other day, my third kid was doing something, just being an asshole, and he just found the line with my wife. And I'm upstairs. I hear about this after that. He did something. I don't even know what he did. And she's like, "What are you doing, you little shit?"
I cannot even conjure that.
Right. You know her.
brain. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I can't even picture it.
So so I was upstairs, like in a class or something. I go downstairs and all the kids are lined up. You know what Mama said? You know, there are 4 of them lined up. She said S-H-I-T. You know, like each one by one, each of them is doing a letter.
That's adorable.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh really? You know? And I'm having. And here's the best part of all this. Like 3 days earlier, right? I had been watching Spider-Man: Far From Home with the boys, and you know, I mean, they say shit in those movies, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody in that movie is like, oh shit, or whatever. And my wife's in the kitchen. She's like, you know, maybe they shouldn't be watching this kind of movie. And I'm like, look, they've heard that word before, like, you know,
Right.
And so she's like, you little shit. And so my second kid, he's like, Mom, I don't think you're allowed to watch Spider-Man: Far From Home anymore. Like, does not miss a beat. And so in my head, like, I have to perform being like, hey, don't talk to her like that. But in my head, I'm like, well done. Well done, my boy.
Well done, my lad.
It's funny because I told her this later. I'm like, here's the problem. You don't swear enough, is what I told her.
Right.
I was like, because Brian, you know me. I swear all the time.
Sure.
I swear like a sailor. I love profanity. I celebrate the linguistic exquisiteness of the properly placed piece of profane language. I'm a fan, right? Mm-hmm. So really, I cuss enough that I don't need. By the time I'm around my kids, I've got it all out of my system already. So by the time I'm around them, I'm like, oh gosh, darn it, you rapscallion.
Right.
See, so I told her, I was like, you gotta just randomly say the F word. You feel better.
Get it out of your system.
Just get it out of your system.
You can be like, move your heinies upstairs.
That's right. I do that all the time. I sound like Ward Cleaver by the time I'm dealing with them.
Right. That is hilarious, though. That is really funny that your kid picked right up on that and was able to.
He did not.
Did she have a reaction?
I had to stop myself from laughing.
Right.
So that was fun. That was my week, Brian.
Yeah, well, by the way, real quick, I had it on my mind while you were talking about George Clooney. Have you heard, speaking of him being like this cool guy that seems like you'd want to be friends with, did you hear about this like deal he did with his friends? I'm making up the number. It was like 10 friends. And he offered them each $1 million. Have you heard this?
No.
So apparently the story goes he offered 10 friends $1 million, and the deal was if one of them refused it, none of them got it.
Wow.
Ensuring that they would take the money. But isn't that kind of... who knows? I mean, I've read that like a couple places, but it just feels like something he would do.
So what was his rationale for? Like he just wanted to look out for his friends?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was sort of like long-standing buddies. You know,
okay.
Obviously it wasn't like Brad Pitt or someone. Yeah. That'd be funny if he was just like...
to Brad Pitt.
Right. You know what I mean? Or it'd be funny if he decided to
all
do
the
that
Ocean's 11 cast. George Clooney's such a charitable guy.
And they're like, sure, yeah. You know?
I believe it. That does seem like something he would do, you know?
Yeah. See, but then it would be funny then if he did it again now. And so the friend's like, oh, we know where this is going. All right. And he's like, look, I'm offering all of you Nespresso machines. And if one of you doesn't take it, and they're all just looking around like, oh.
they're like, here it comes.
Right.
He offers a Keurig. Here you go.
Yeah.
I'm offering you See, you have to. Yeah, I'm doing the imitation, but you have to see me.
It's very visual.
It's very visual. Anyway,
yes.
What have you seen, Brian?
Well, I've watched quite a few things over here. I've sort of picked it up a bit. First off, I watched a movie that debuted on Amazon Prime called The Vast of Night. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it. I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those movies that it was a little buzzy for like a week or two there because a friend of mine sent me a review just out of the blue saying like, oh, this sounds interesting. And then I started seeing it picked up on blogs and podcast, people talking about it. Basically, it's takes place in the 1950s. This is the IMDb summary. It says, in the twilight of the 1950s, on one fateful night in New Mexico, young switchboard operator Faye and charismatic radio DJ Everett discover a strange audio frequency that could change their small town and the future forever. So basically, it's like a Twilight Zone episode, stretched out to about 90 minutes, where in this small town, they basically hear these funky signals coming through the radio, and someone calls in and says, I've heard that sound before, kind of a thing. And so basically, you're like, is it a UFO? And this movie, I really enjoyed it. It's from a first-time filmmaker. What's his name here? Andrew Patterson. And apparently, they made this in Oklahoma. He makes commercials for the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball team. And using the money he's made from those commercials, he made this film for under $1 million.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a really great out of the gate first showing for someone where you're like, oh, that guy can put together a movie. Like he had very, very little, and sometimes that puts some strain on the movie because then it has to be dialogue heavy or it has to be stretched out a bit where there are certain things he just can't do with what he has available to him. But on the other hand, it's amazing what he is able to pull off in this film. There's a shot that I've read so much about already before I had seen it, where the camera basically covers a half a mile of terrain, and it's just roving over this field. So it's connecting the geography of where different characters are, and it goes from, I don't remember if it's the switchboard or the radio station, but it goes from there across the town into a gymnasium where a high school basketball game is going, through the players, up the stands, out a window, and it's really, really impressive. Drones, I assume, but yeah, it's. I really enjoyed it. It totally speaks to a sensibility that I really love, where you see an exciting young filmmaker take an intriguing premise and figure out how to do the lo-fi version of that.
Right.
So in that way, it reminds me of movies like Primer, or a movie I talked about several years ago called The Myth of the American Sleepover, or The Writer, which I was really excited about a year or two ago. And I've seen him also compared to Richard Kelly, who did Donnie Darko. Although I'd say that movie had a bit more snap to it, a little more action. Like, this is pretty dialogue heavy. And there's a scene also that is actually mesmerizing, where the young woman, she is a switchboard operator, and there is a scene where it's 9 minutes long with no cuts in this cramped room where she is working the switchboard as the mystery is unfolding. And just watching her do this work while the plot is happening around her, in the middle of it, I think about 5 minutes in, I was like, this is incredible. Like, I was so impressed with what this actress was doing, like physically, and all the dialogue she had to say, so anyway, it's sort of like Twilight Zone light. I'd say for people who sound intrigued by it, I say definitely check it out. You will know if you want to keep going after the first 10 minutes. I think that is a good test, because it starts off with these really sort of long tracking shots of people talking very fast about things that aren't particularly important, but it's setting a tone, and then it gets into the action. So I think your tolerance for that will be sort of the test if you want to keep going. But otherwise, I mean, I recommend it. I'm very curious to see what this filmmaker does with a bigger budget and more resources available to them. It was just a really cool sort of, like I said, small, lo-fi, interesting sci-fi movie.
And this is, you said it's on Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime,
okay.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah, and then I've also been watching just the whole bevy of ESPN documentaries.
Oh, sure.
After The Last Dance, the Bulls documentary we talked about, like fawned over is more like it. So I was like, during the commercials for those, they set up the Lance Armstrong documentary, the Bruce Lee documentary, and then the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire home run chase, home run record chase movie called Long Gone Summer. And I watched all of those. Have you watched any of them?
I have not, but I want to. I want to watch all of those. So
I would recommend all of them. I'd say then, just very briefly, the Lance Armstrong one is really interesting because he is a figure I, of course, know. We all know Lance Armstrong. Not only because I think he's the only cyclist we can all name,
Yes.
But of course, Livestrong was just absolutely ubiquitous for a time there. I mean, you look to your left, you look to your right, someone is going to be wearing one of those yellow rubber wristbands that went toward cancer research, right?
Right.
So it was really interesting because, I mean, I think this is well-known history, but he accomplished incredible things in the world of cycling with the Tour de France, but then he was caught doping, and he had everything stripped away from him. So this is a 3-hour plus look at this figure, and I didn't know anything about where he came from. He was like a young phenom. And then, of course, you know, what he accomplished is really incredible. But then it goes really deep into the world of doping in the Tour de France. And this is like a huge, huge problem. I mean, this isn't like Lance was one person doing this and it was unfair. I mean, it's a whole world of this going on in the sport. And so it takes a look at the sport. I don't know. I found it pretty interesting. I would recommend it. If that sounds interesting at all. I think, you know, we've talked about this before where sports films, even if you aren't interested in the sport, they're just inherently entertaining or compelling because you are just rooting for something, right?
Yeah.
You're rooting for someone to win. You're rooting for someone who's cheating to get caught. There's just always something to root for. And I found that in these documentaries as well. They set it up really well where you find yourself rooting for something. And it was interesting watching the rise and fall and then his attempt at, not a rise, but just sort of a...
rehabilitate his image.
Yeah, a moment to explain himself.
Sure.
And you can decide how you feel about him. You know, but he's unflinching. I mean, whereas Jordan was sort of brutally honest, you can still feel a little bit of a veneer protecting Michael Jordan, the entity.
Sure.
Lance has no problem just being himself. And you're like, oh, wow, this guy... this guy just says what he feels.
He's got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah. So that was an interesting one.
Would you say that Armstrong emerges as more sympathetic for having done that?
I think it will vary on the person.
Sure.
How you feel about that? I think he feels a bit defensive in a way that makes you want him to be perhaps a bit more humble.
Okay.
You know, just sort of concede. But I think he's tired of conceding.
You're right.
Is also what you get out of this. Because, I mean, this happened way longer ago than I remember. I thought this happened maybe, I would have guessed like 12 years ago or something, but it was almost 20. Or even more, right? It was like the 90s.
The Lance Armstrong thing?
Right?
That doesn't sound right.
Or early 2000s. Something like that. I mean, it was way earlier than I thought it was. And so, yeah, but then you also see all the things he's accomplished, like I say, with his Livestrong foundation, right? So there's a lot of people who work for that foundation and they're doing really, really good, important work. And they have to grapple with the idea of who the figurehead of their company, you know, that started this thing. And so, yeah, it covers a lot of facets of all the people who were affected by this whole.
So I'm on Wikipedia here.
Yeah.
And it says that the decision to take away his titles was reached in 2012.
Well, yes, but when was the actual, like his wins when he was doping? Those were, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, his rise began in the 90s.
Yeah. And then he retired, and then he came back, much like Jordan. Sorry, I'm giving away this whole doc. But.
Yeah, just you ruined it. Forget it now. Yeah, I mean, talk about flying too close to the sun. You know, like
absolutely.
There's a headline in The Guardian from 5 years ago. It says Lance Armstrong's journey from deity to disgrace, and I can't think of a better way to sum up his arc. Right?
Yeah. So he's not of particular interest to me because I don't really follow that sport. But the story itself, it's very compelling. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, there's so many facets to it. I mean, the people who worked for his company doing, you know, really important things and how they feel about it and how does that affect the company and
right.
So yeah, I thought it was really good. And then so I also watched Be Water, which was the documentary about Bruce Lee, which I was really interested in this because I know Bruce Lee like I know Marilyn Monroe, which is basically just American iconography,
But,
like
real quick, real pause, Brian. When you say Bee Water, like I picture BEE water, and I'm like, it sounds like a quirky indie movie starring like Steve Zahn as like a guy.
Steve Zahn. That is so it. Bee water. Oh, that is really good.
It's like he lives in like Tuscaloosa or something, and
that is so. See, I think the first person that came to my mind when you said that was sort of like Parker Posey, but that's not it. That's not it. Steve Zahn, that's it.
Anyway, sorry. This is not that. This is not the Steve Zahn movie, which
No.
I now must write.
Right? Yes, you absolutely should. But anyway, yes. So no, Bruce, like Enter the Dragon. Like I know that poster, right? Yeah. But I don't know Bruce Lee, and I thought this was a really interesting look at it. This is an encompassing sort of his whole life story sort of thing, and which was really fascinating. I didn't know he was a child actor. He came from parents who were entertainers, and then eventually he was born in America, and then moved and came back, and then his whole purpose was to teach martial arts to people, but then he was sort of brought back into acting with the Green Hornet and all that, right? So that wasn't even like a pursuit of his for a while. So it was just, I don't know, it was just interesting getting to know the man, and made me want to watch his films because I haven't seen one of them, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. They had a lot of people who were friends of his, pre his adult sort of ascent into stardom. His wife. So yeah, a lot of people who were close to him who could add a lot of context and color to all of it, and that was a good one. Also, I really enjoyed that. And then lastly, just last night I watched Long Gone Summer, which is in the summer of 1998 when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were racing to beat Roger Maris's home run record, which was 61 home runs in a single season.
Right.
So, and what makes this one interesting is, there had been a strike in baseball, I believe in 1994, and baseball was just in a slump, attendance and interest. And this home run race, which I absolutely remember, I'm sure you do too, just reinvigorated fans' interest in the sport. And both these guys were pretty interesting, fun, colorful characters too, right?
Right.
Sammy Sosa was kind of playful, and Mark McGwire, he had previously been like part of the Bash Brothers with Jose Canseco, and so yeah, this was a really fun one, but this one was way lighter than the others. It doesn't feel as thorough, or like it embeds you in the moment or into these people's lives, like say The Last Dance, which of course had 9 more episodes to do that.
Right.
But and I've seen that reflected in the reviews that have sort of been down on this one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I don't think they're wrong. Like I say, it's very surfacey, and it doesn't really get it. There's obviously performance-enhancing drugs become a part of the narrative, and it does touch on that, but not too heavily. It really is more like a fluffy time machine movie to just go back and be like, remember that?
Yeah. Okay.
I understand the critique of this one, but I can't say that it wasn't an enjoyable time.
Okay. So. And all of these are just 1 hour, or like one episode, whatever it is, like 1 to 2 hours, whatever it is.
The Lance Armstrong is a 2-part series, so without ads, it's about 3.5 hours.
Gotcha.
And Bruce Lee was 2 hours. B Water, I should say. B-E Water. And Long Gone Summer was also 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay.
So
not as much of a time commitment, but sounds like not as much of an emotional commitment necessarily.
Yeah, perfectly enjoyable, and it's just it was nice to revisit and learn more about figures I didn't know a lot about, and I just found them really, really fun watches. So
yeah.
And then lastly, I think we'll be able to talk about this together, but I watched Spike Lee's latest movie, which dropped on Netflix, called Da 5 Bloods.
Da 5 Bloods, yeah.
Yeah, which is basically, again, I'll read the IMDb summary. 4 African-American vets battle the forces of man and nature when they return to Vietnam, seeking the remains of their fallen squad leader and the gold fortune he helped them hide. And I read the IMDb summary because I figure it's safe. Like, I don't want to, over speak plot or whatever. But, the first thing I heard about this was about these Vietnam vets going back to recover gold. And I was like, oh, yeah, in. Like, that just sounds like a really compelling premise. And then coming from Spike Lee, who, I've sort of dipped in and out of his work. Like, I think, obviously, Do the Right Thing and everything in his early work. And then he sort of, depending on what people sort of brought to my attention as you need to check this out. Obviously, BlacKkKlansman was most recently. And but yeah, I was just really interested. And I have to say, I guess, a selling point for Netflix, it was beamed into my living room. So it was like, well, hey, let's give this a shot, right? And I really, really enjoyed this movie. I expected I would like it, but I got really wrapped up in this. And it's just over 2.5 hours. And I feel like you could lop off maybe about 15 minutes out of the first act, maybe even more. But at the same time, being prepared to sit down for that amount of time, it does immerse you in the men's friendship and sort of interpersonal relationships. And I didn't mind the journey. And it's a messy journey. It's a really interesting, it's hard to talk about without spoilers. But there's a lot of dynamics at play with their relationships, with their mental health, with the adventure itself, and whether or not this is actually a noble thing.
Yeah.
Everyone has a perspective on it. And Delroy Lindo, like, we're done.
Yeah.
Best actor.
Oh,
like,
my
we're
gosh.
Done. Incredible. Just watch it alone. Everybody is great. The story is interesting. The movie is well made. Watch it for him.
I agree with that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm right now just picturing him in that sweaty cap, and just feeling like the intensity and his anger and his hurt and his relationship with these guys that can be, in one place in one moment and just completely flipped in the next. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, for me, so far, I know this is really weird this year, but this is one of my favorite movies I've watched this year.
So this one beat out Trolls World Tour for you. Just narrowly edged it.
I know. But I think it will remain that way regardless of what comes later, and I certainly think had this year even still been a bit more normal, I would still feel the same way.
No, it's fantastic. It's I want to echo everything you're saying. It really envelops you. Mm-hmm. And I watched it in the evening, and all night as I was sleeping, I was thinking about it. Mm-hmm. It has that kind of effect on you.
It stuck with me for days. Yeah. And it's one of those movies, I don't know if you do this. Sometimes you see a movie and you want to tell someone about it, and you're like, oh, they don't care. Or like they didn't see it, whatever. But this is one of those movies. I did this with my girlfriend. Sometimes I do this with my brother or whatever. And you are so still in it that you just feel compelled to tell them the whole movie, even though they weren't there.
Yeah.
You just have to repeat it because it just got under your skin. And that's what I did.
You're talking about Delroy Lindo. I mean, Delroy Lindo is someone who has been great for decades. Mm-hmm. In movies like Romeo Must Die, mm-hmm. he's like almost single-handedly adding capital G gravitas, Mm-hmm. And so in this movie, really, first time I can think of that's just a showcase for him. Mm-hmm. You have scenes where Spike just points the camera at him, mm-hmm. and he's talking directly to camera, talking directly to us, and just acting, and you are encompassed by it. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, that's like a special effect. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, the film itself and his performance, and like I say, it's just I can just picture that cap stuck to his head.
Yeah.
And like the sweat on his face and his just the whatever he's feeling just oozing out of his pores.
Well, and
this movie transports.
I think just to piggyback off of what you're saying, I think it's worth pointing out his character is early on he's established as a Trump supporter, and I think in terms of cinematic shorthand, that all by itself gives us such a fascinating insight into who he is.
Right,
a black Trump supporter, and that sort of that essential, contradictory urge that accompanies that. It paints such a vivid portrait of him, and so the idea of this "Make America Great" hat becoming this weird kind of a talisman throughout the film. I think it's amazing.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think that's giving anything away. Me saying that, and I don't want to dismiss, by the way, the contributions of the other actors, all of whom I think are very good.
Of course, they're all great. The camaraderie with them.
Yeah,
who's the Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. I was just going to bring him up. Yeah, he was in The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Yep.
Last year, and also Clark Peters, who plays Otis. Mm-hmm. It's a quality film. I agree with you that it's probably longer than it needed to be.
Yes.
And ultimately, that's not as much of a critique. Like I think Irishman is like an hour longer than it needed to be. So this,
agreed.
Yep. With this one thing, stylistic technique I thought was very interesting is we get these flashbacks to Vietnam, and rather than casting younger lookalikes, or rather than Irishmaning it up and de-aging the actors, instead what Spike Lee does is he just takes these 60, 70-year-old men and puts them into Vietnam and says, hey, this is 50 years ago. And I kind of love the sheer audacity of that.
Agreed. And it somehow works because it's their souls.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whether it's and those moments are shot in 16 millimeter.
Yep.
So it's 4:3 framing. It's grainy. It looks like the footage we're used to seeing from Vietnam, just aesthetically.
Yep.
So you could sort of say it's the way they remember it. You could say that's the actual footage we're watching of them there. But regardless, it's those people that we're spending the majority of time as adults transported, or at least back there. And so it's audacious, and it's also, it completely worked for me.
And in those past sequences, we see their unit leader,
yes,
who they call him Stormin' Norman, and he's played by Chadwick Boseman. And so you get this great contrast of these older men who are sort of sitting at the feet of Chadwick Boseman, as he's, they say he was our Malcolm and our Martin, and I love that contrast,
I agree, and I've seen that as a criticism against the movie, but I would say, look at them as adults. They still revere him.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They remember every word he said, like their philosophy.
Yep.
That they still adhere to and believe in stemmed from those moments with that character. So it makes equal sense that you could see them as adults still sitting at his feet listening to him.
And by the way, unconnected to the movie specifically, but as my wife and I were watching this, my 11-year-old comes in and he kind of like, what are you guys watching? And there's, it's one of these flashback scenes, and he goes, hey, Chadwick Boseman. And I said to my wife, I was like, that's why these actors do them superhero movies.
Right.
Right.
That's, yeah.
Because this little kid is going to know who Chadwick Boseman is for the rest of his life. Right.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. This is a good one, Brian.
Yeah, and I will give like a little warning too. It's heavy.
Yes.
And there's some real life graphic imagery in it that I found bothersome, to be honest. So just be prepared for that. But and the story's messy, and I saw it has a 90+% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I read like a C- review on AV Club, and I was interested in why that was, and they had a problem with the message of the movie. And I guess I can't disagree with that, because I feel like the messaging is a little muddy, but I feel like that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody has their own motivations, and I don't know that any one person is 100% correct. Right?
The journey that this film took to the screen is itself fascinating, right? It was written by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo. The late Paul DeMeo, he passed away, but they wrote, the Rocketeer. Mm-hmm. And they wrote it as, I was going to say generic, but that's not right. They wrote it as like a caper.
Right.
And there was not a specific racial element. Mm-hmm. And Oliver Stone was attached. And it winds up with Spike Lee, who says, how can I take The Last Tour and Spike Lee it up? How do I turn it into a Spike Lee joint? Mm-hmm. Let's call it The Five Bloods.
Right. And when they show like an establishing shot of the White House, it's the White House.
Right.
Chiron.
That's right. And so Spike Lee's whole angle was, well, let's make it about, let's take these characters, let's make them black, and let's look at Vietnam from the specific perspective of the black soldiers who fought it. And I look at that and I'm like, it's amazing to me that we have not delved into that in our American cinematic vernacular to any great extent, right? Like how is it that has not happened? Mm-hmm. And that, to me, above and beyond the caper, which is itself engaging, but the entire tapestry of the film is about that, the idea of these men who are overseas espousing the virtues of America as they fight for her, while at the exact same time back home, black people are being lynched and murdered and subjected to all manner of just hell on earth. Mm-hmm. That contradiction is so rich.
Yes.
Right? And the fact that this movie arrives on June 12th of 2020 as the country is being torn apart by this exact conversation. Spike Lee couldn't have planned that, right? Mm-hmm. But for the fact that this is a conversation that is always, unfortunately, needing to be had. Mm-hmm. Do the Right Thing was made 31 years ago, and it might as well have been made 3 months ago.
Yep. Yep.
So there is a powerful contemporary connection that you can't help but make.
Absolutely. Yep.
But completely separate from that, to me, this movie underscores why Spike Lee is one of the most important and most unique filmmaking voices that we have. Every single movie he makes is different from the one before. Mm-hmm. He never.
It honestly made me want to look back at the ones I had missed and see what I've been missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's The Five Bloods.
Yep. Big recommendation from me.
So before we take a break, I wanted to share a listener letter that we got briefly.
Oh, cool.
So this is in reference to our Batman Begins commentary track that we just wrote. So this is
like we just did that, yeah.
I love the instantaneous response, right?
Yeah.
This is from Ronald Darling via Facebook. He says, "Hey guys, great episode. Listened while I was cleaning/building a shelf in my garage yesterday." See, when my wife sees stuff like that, she's just going to be like, he can do that in the garage. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm recording the stuff for him to listen to while he works in the garage. I'm doing a service. This is my place in the food chain and all this.
Right.
One thing I wanted to comment on, though, and not to rain on your parade with the fun you are having at this, but I think Roz is correct when he tells Bruce in Wayne Manor that Bruce, quote, burned his house down and left him for dead. Remember, at that point, Bruce thought that Ken Watanabe was Roz, and that he knew Liam Neeson only as Ducard. So at that point, given what he knew, Roz is appalled that Bruce was indeed leaving the person he knew as Roz to die in the burning house.
To which I say, bravo.
To which I say, Ron, I don't like your attitude. You know, Why don't you listen to something else in the garage. That's what No, that's that. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
Bravo. Yeah. Yeah. It underlines something we already said, where it was, the whole disaster happened because Wayne wasn't willing to kill one man, but in the process of doing that, he kills about 42.
It just underscores that he's a goddamned hypocrite. That's the takeaway.
It's Batman Begins. He's finding his voice.
Touche. This is true. Also, via Twitter, Tom McClellan said that he had the exact same reaction to the woman introducing the decoy Ra's al Ghul.
It's very funny, yeah.
Although, again, somebody responded to that by saying one theory they've heard is that she's in on it.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Which I was like, I'm sick of these guys ruining our fun that we're having with the sense of this movie. Yeah. But that makes sense to me on some level, right?
I can picture that. It depends. I have to watch her walk away again.
Yeah.
If she is still trying to chat him up, like, would you like an hors d'oeuvre or something?
No, she kind of just like gives him a nudge, like thumbs up.
Right.
Done. All right. Well, so thank you everybody for listening to the Batman Begins commentary track, which is out there. And by the way, as we record this today, it is the 25th. It is the official 25th anniversary of Batman Forever. So go listen to that in our archive, in our not inconsiderable archive of Batman commentary tracks.
Yeah.
I was on YouTube just the other day watching. You know how stuff just comes up. So some clips from Superman Returns came up in my feed. So I was like, let's watch Superman rescue the plane again. And I was realizing, other than occasionally watching Superman rescue the plane, I have never watched that movie from beginning to end except for opening night in 2006.
Wow. Yeah.
So that too feels like one of those things, because next year's the 50th anniversary of that. I'm like, I almost want to wade into that morass and see what we can do with it.
Yeah. I remember some visuals from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember much of that movie.
I mean, Brian, you know me and the outsized role Superman plays in my life.
Yeah, I was actually going to comment on that. For you to have not even revisited it out of just curiosity in 15 years. Neither
beginning, nor end, nor most of middle, except for about 5 minutes of CGI cutscene looking Brandon Routh as he, catches a airplane wing or whatever.
Right.
That's it. So
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we have been working through most of the Superman movies, so I feel like we got. I think Superman 2 and Superman Returns, and we'll polish all those movies off too.
Oh wow, that's right. I was just in my head. I'm so used to thinking this that I've never seen Superman 3, but that's not true. Well, I've now seen Superman 3.
Superman 3 has that effect on most people who have actually seen Superman 3, so you're not wrong. So yeah, again, thanks everybody. And we got some fun commentaries coming up soon. So listen for those. And, while y'all listening, think of all the stuff we might be planning. Let's take a break and you can listen to this ad for this. And we are back. And Brian, you know who else is back?
Who's that?
They are here to save us in our most desperate hour. They are Bill S. Preston and Ted Theodore Logan.
Esquire. Bill S. Preston Esquire.
That's touche. So Bill and Ted Face the Music is still coming out this year, one hopes and prays.
Yeah, and they even pushed the date forward a bit. I think by a week. Not sure what the thinking is with that, but
I think something else opened up. There was a scheduling gap.
Wonder Woman moved.
There you go. Yeah. So Bill and Ted. So the trailer dropped, and why don't we play some of that first, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about it.
You were supposed to unite the world and save reality as we know it.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to write the song that will unite the world. Why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
Whoa! Take it from ourselves!
But isn't that stealing?
How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
All right, Brian, what do you think?
Oh man, I was so nervous about this. We've been talking about this movie for years. The trailer dropped. I almost was covering my eyes, peeking through. And it's not because I don't trust Bill and Ted, but it's because a lot of times when they make these sequels to comedies or movies from years and years and years ago, they just don't feel right. And I wish I could say that I am just 100% oh, they did it, I'm on board. I love what I saw. I love the look of it. I love seeing Bill and Ted again. So I'm still cautiously optimistic is how I'll put it.
Interesting. See,
and that's because this is a movie I've loved since I was 8.
Sure.
So there's just a lot. I think I'm too nervous to even form an opinion yet, even from a trailer. So yeah, sorry, go ahead. I want to hear you.
I just assumed you'd be like, dude, bring it on,
Oh, I am. But I just don't know. I won't know till I see the movie.
What I have said and this is written by Ed Solomon again. The same writing team that did the first two.
Which is a good start. That's
a good start. It's the idea that they've had for years and years.
Which is a great idea.
Yeah, it really is. And it's directed by Dean Parasot, who did Galaxy Quest.
Right.
So that to me, I'm like, well, that's a good movie. Have you seen Galaxy Quest?
I have. I don't know it as well as its
reputation
fans do,
right.
But I would like to revisit it.
It's worth it. I think it does a good job of balancing tone, which a movie like this has to do. But, and I've said this before, I'm pretty sure, to me, the biggest selling point, or at least the biggest mark in this movie's favor, let's put it that way, is that Keanu Reeves did not have to do this movie.
Yes.
He's not hurting for work.
Mm-hmm. Especially lately. I mean, he is...
Right.
Yeah.
He's a beloved institution, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And so the fact that whatever the story was, whatever the script was, it was enough for him to say, yeah, I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is all right, well, it's kind of like Tom Cruise gets a certain amount of buy-in with whatever he does, because he tends to be pretty choosy, generally speaking.
Right.
But Tom Cruise did The Mummy. Right. So you never do know.
Sure.
But everybody gets one. So Keanu being in this, that to me is the thing that says, okay, well, he found something worth doing here.
Yeah. And seeing them together just makes me smile. And then you have that little tease at the end where they bump into a more aggressive version of themselves, and they're like, "Oh, okay," that was a little intense. And I'm like, "Okay, that's funny. That's funny." I think I'm just nervous. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good, it's good. Let's get to it. I just want to do it." I don't want to dip my toe. I just want to jump in the pool.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree with you that they too have not really skipped a beat in terms of their chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because they, they've been friends for this whole time. The actors, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, they've remained close.
Right.
So that helps. But yeah, I think the other thing for me is this is not a movie that I've been waiting for. Right, you know what I mean? For me, it was Bill and Ted was a thing that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, 30 years ago. And, I enjoyed it. It was nice. So it's not, for me, a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull situation.
That absolutely makes sense. And it isn't for me either, but it is somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
I think because I like I said, I saw this movie when I was 8, and I have loved it my whole... it's a movie I could probably quote top to bottom. And I knew that they were toying with the idea of a sequel for years, and I remember even at least 10 years back, or maybe, knowing the script was floating out there, and I actually put some effort into trying to get it with people.
Really?
So I have had an interest in this movie for a while, so I'm just hoping that it is a fun adventure and that it has the same heart that the original had, which is these two guys who are just relentlessly kind and optimistic being thrust into an adventure. Like, I hope it has that same heart.
Well, this movie has a $25 million budget. Wow. So working in its favor is that even if they don't end up pushing the release, that's enough of a low-risk venture that they could potentially put it in theaters and or drop it on streaming very shortly thereafter and come out ahead.
Yeah. I really hope this effort, regardless of how good it is, I just hope it's rewarded.
Yes.
So it's like, no, this is a thing people wanted and they turned up for it. Like, I hope it gets that hug, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. By the way, I loved the nostalgic value of seeing that Orion logo in the front.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I feel like they brought that, they dusted off the cobwebs just for this movie, you know?
I know. It's going to be sad, too, without Rufus, with George Carlin having passed. So I'm curious how, they'll have to address it. I'm curious how they will.
Oh, they should just do like a Peter Cushing in Rogue One situation.
Oh,
can you imagine that?
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm being ironic. Please don't actually do that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We got some headlines, Brian.
Yes, we do. Let's see. What's up top here? Oh, Batwoman.
Yeah,
an interesting.
We talked about the Batwoman casting switcheroo in our last episode, and let me say, I had no intention at the start of this year to spend any amount of time talking about the Batwoman television series,
which is a CW DC universe sort of Green Arrow, right?
Correct.
Thing. Yeah. Okay.
However,
that's a whole cinematic or television universe that's happening, and she is part of that.
It's a DC multiverse that exists on. I think it's a good 2/3 of the CW's lineup at this point.
Right.
So Batwoman, the television series, it starred Ruby Rose, and she said, "I'm done" after the first season. And so in our last episode, we mentioned this, and we said, "Oh, I think now they're going to have to recast this role." And so the producers have said, "Well, we're not going to recast the character Kate Kane. We're actually going to get rid of that character and bring in an entirely new character. They're gonna legacy this thing."
Okay.
And so, for posterity, I want this show to reflect the reality as it exists on the ground. Now, that being said, as somebody who does not watch the show and has no emotional investment in the show and really does not care one single bit about the show, let me offer my opinion about the show.
Okay.
That seems to me like a bad idea.
Okay. Why is that?
Because if you recast the role, there'll be like a momentary cognitive dissonance of like, oh, that person looks slightly different, and then you just get on with it. But all the other pieces that have been in place, the narrative, everything holding up this main character is still in place, and you just move on, as opposed to now being like, oh, well, you're like the replacement for that other person.
Right. And whatever sort of bending over backwards you had to get to have this person inherit the mantle of the Bat figure in this town, you have to do it all over again.
Right. And and they've said like, oh, and this character, she's like this, and oh, and by the way, she's a lesbian too, because the original Batwoman is a lesbian. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, because there are many people who are lesbian, but like the sort of the coinky-dink factor there.
So it's like, right, trying to come up with a very similar character because they probably want to do the same sort of spirit of what they were doing. But then, almost trying to make a clone of this character with a different name.
Yeah,
it seems... Wait, has this show done that before, where they've taken a main character and then, like, the lead and recast them?
The recast as in replace the character or replace the actor?
The actor.
So, new character... new actor, or same character, new actor.
Same character, new actor.
Yeah. So I think we said in our last episode, what comes to mind is the series Spartacus,
Right.
And then I mentioned, the Superboy television series from the 80s and 90s.
See, it's funny, all those examples plus this Batwoman show makes sense because it's not necessarily about, it's about the character, like Batwoman.
Yes.
Or Superboy or Spartacus. Like, you show up for those characters. So yeah, Bruce Wayne can be played by different people because we know who Bruce Wayne is.
Exactly.
Right,
So to me, I'm like, okay, we've had 573 different Bruce Waynes. Mm-hmm. Everyone, Brian, before you die, you will play Bruce Wayne at some point. It's just, that's part of the human experience.
Yes.
You're telling me we can't have two Kate Kanes,
Right.
And so that seems kind of silly to me. And if the show succeeds, okay, well then I will eat crow. But here, from 500 feet up, it seems like an odd choice. Mm-hmm. Right? It would be like on Fresh Prince having a whole divorce Aunt Viv storyline, so you can bring in the new Aunt Viv, who's not who's not Aunt Viv in this calculation. Versus, hey Aunt Viv, you look a little different. Anyway, let's move on. Now this is the lead character, so it's slightly different. But again, I think all the narrative structure that's built to support this character, that's what people have an investment in. So doing using the Batman analogy, it's like, okay, we've had Bruce Wayne for a season and a half, but now it's Larry Kowalski is Batman. And you're like, oh, that's kind of weird, like all of a sudden, oh, where's Bruce Wayne? I don't know, but I'm Larry.
Yeah,
I'm the guy now.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, they did like the Batman Beyond show or whatever, but even like that's the future. That's not now, because now is Bruce Wayne,
Right. I don't know. I'm curious to see if this works. I mean, who knows when they're even going to get back to shooting, right?
And again, the amount of emotional inflection you hear in my voice, this is as much as I've ever cared about this show. So really, none of this means anything. I'm just wasting your time, Brian, and the time of everyone listening.
In conclusion.
Yes. But what else we got, Brian? What else is happening?
Well, revisiting a story we had a few episodes back, we talked about Martin Scorsese adapting the book Killers of the Flower Moon, and that was going to be for Paramount, but the problem was he wanted to spend $200 million plus to make this movie, and that's a really, really risky venture. And so Paramount was sort of dragging their feet a bit, and it turns out that Scorsese has now taken the movie to Apple, who said, oh, yeah, we'll do it. Which is interesting, because, I mean, Apple, with all the streaming services, obviously they're all looking to carve their place. I mean, Netflix has already done that, but everyone's trying to find their selling points, right? You have HBO Max with this whole Snyder Cut thing, which feels like a big statement. And so Apple, they inherited that Tom Hanks submarine movie, right? Just because of the whole
that's right.
Crazy summer.
Which, like, I think, like, next week or the week after something it drops, doesn't it? Like, isn't it soon?
Yeah, I just saw an ad for it last night, but
okay.
I don't recall what the time is. But anyway, so, I mean, this is not Apple inheriting a movie that's already been made. This is them saying, we'll spend $200 million on this period crime drama, with that Scorsese is making. And but another interesting detail that came out of this was Paramount, it wasn't just the budget, even though that was part of it. Apparently there was a rewrite, and Leonardo DiCaprio went from playing the hero of the piece to the villain. And Paramount was not interested in making this movie for that amount of money with DiCaprio playing a villain.
That's interesting. Okay.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I think we all probably could have assumed this movie was going to happen.
Yeah.
At some point, somehow. But now it's going to be happening on Apple TV Plus. So you're going to have a subscription to watch it.
I find it interesting that Netflix was like, we're good.
Oh, right after Irishman?
After Irishman.
It's a little telling, isn't it?
Yeah. That's
and I mean, you think about it too. I mean, obviously, De Niro, Pacino, all these people are monumental actors, but you have DiCaprio, who's a younger. This sounds disrespectful, but I mean, you know what I mean, like a huge current selling point, possibly more than some of these older respected actors. And Netflix is still like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. So obviously Apple has just buckets of cash. $200 million is like nothing for Apple.
Oh yeah, yes.
So you can see the calculus there, but I do wonder what their path to profitability is for a movie like this, because I can't imagine this being a thing where people are like, ooh, we need to sign up for Apple Plus or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think if I had a subscription, things like this are sort of incentives to stick around.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we talked about recently, they have acquired like catalogs of content, right? Realizing they needed to sort of fill their shelves a bit more, where you have HBO, with the Friends streaming and Looney Tunes, and everyone's trying to get their hands on existing properties that people can rifle through and want to stop on. And so Apple recently, I actually don't know what they acquired, but I know they went and tried to acquire some older stuff just to buff up their offerings.
See, I think what Scorsese should have done was taken it to Quibi, and they could release a minute at a time for the next 87 years.
Dude, you made me snort twice this episode. I haven't written it down, so I can't cut it up. They missed an.
That was a layup. See, they missed out.
It would take a year,
right?
If you watched it every day. But yeah.
Nobody's talking about Quibi. This might have been their House of Cards or whatever. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of everything being up for grabs as far as release dates, I find it interesting that Tenet was scheduled for about a month from now. It was going to be released middle of July, and then finally Warner Brothers was like, there's a lot of concerns about COVID-19. We can't guarantee safety. We're concerned. This is an issue. We want to be cautious. We're going to delay it by 14 days.
I know. It's really interesting. There must be some feeling about this movie must come out in July. Not even like August. I really wonder what that is. And I wonder if it comes from some research about when theaters feel they will be physically set up to handle social distancing. Maybe that plays into it in some way. But apparently the rumor on the playground is that Warner's, if they had their way, they would love to postpone this. But it's Christopher Nolan who is just really dead set on getting this thing out. And they're sort of in a between a rock and a hard place, wanting to keep him happy.
Think about this. On one hand, you have a mass spreading global pandemic,
which is rising.
Yes.
At the moment. Yes.
On the other hand, you have the director of The Dark Knight.
Right.
And Warner Brothers is like,
I know.
Apparently, Christopher Nolan has been adamant that it be released in summer, or else, I guess. I don't know. They don't want to piss off Christopher Nolan.
I just don't understand it. I mean, I've said it on this show, but who knows what's going to happen in the coming months? We don't know.
Yes.
But I felt like it's going to be the holidays until people start feeling comfortable going back to the movies. I don't know why. I have nothing to base that on. Yeah. But it just feels like the end of the year, people got to get out.
Right.
There's something about the holidays that just invites this different feeling in the air, and you could possibly get people out of their house to go see Wonder Woman or something without worrying about their health, to the degree that they would in the middle of July. So I don't know why, put it out around Thanksgiving or something. I save it for the theaters. I get it, but why he's so dead set on July, I don't know.
It's weird to me because let's be real, this movie will make money if it's released under optimum conditions, right? And if you're Christopher Nolan, I understand the urge to be like, well, I want the world to see this thing that I spent 2 years on, right? But if you're Warner Brothers, I mean, this is a $200 million investment that they are essentially being backed into potentially losing a lot of money on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what it's so if I'm Nolan, why not just be like, all right, look, I'm happy with the film. Just put it out whenever you're able to.
But I insist it go into theaters.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I demand a theatrical release, but put it out when you feel comfortable doing it.
When you feel comfortable doing it, when it's, I mean, frankly, don't you want the most amount of eyeballs on it?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. This reminds me. Last night I sent you. I think it was Deadline. They put out. They're still doing box office tallies, and it's fascinating to look at because I think most of these are drive-ins. So the number one movie in America last week was The Invisible Man on 147 screens, and it made $383,000, which is obviously,
that's nickels and dimes.
Nickels and dimes. And what was fascinating is the top two are The Invisible Man and Trolls World Tour, which is interesting because I thought that was an exclusive to streaming. But number 3 is Back to the Future. The number 3 movie in the country last week was Back to the Future, playing on 91 screens and earning less screens and earning almost the same amount of money as Trolls World Tour, $263,000. Isn't that fascinating?
It truly does feel like time is a flat circle, and we're at this moment where all eras are just coexisting.
I mean, truly. I mean, you have Trolls World Tour, you have Back to the Future, Jumanji, which came out half a year ago, E.T., Jurassic Park, The Goonies, and then that current horror movie, The Wretched, is number 10. Yeah, it's very weird.
Wow.
It's a very surreal sort of looking box office summary.
Just we've seen movie theater chains release their reopen plans, and a lot of it is we're not going to book theaters past a 25% cap. So theaters can only be 25% full. And I look at that and I'm like, well, how on earth can a summer blockbuster find profitability under those kind of restrictions? Unless every screening room in the house is playing that movie, 24/7. Right?
Yep.
Like forget like $2 billion in one weekend like Avengers Endgame got, right? That scenario required massive, mega, screening rooms being packed to the brim. That's not
and I just to add to what you're saying right now, I just looked up Dunkirk. Domestically, it only made $189 million, not even $200 million.
Yeah,
which is, Tenet costs more than $200 million to make.
Yeah. And again, like under optimal conditions, that movie's going to perform.
Sure, of course, and probably more so than Dunkirk, to be honest.
Yeah, right. The gimmick and stuff is going to get you. I mean, it's odd to me. I mean, I think Christopher Nolan really wants to be like the guy who ushers in, the theatrical experience again, and that's fine. But I don't know. I'm very curious. I've said this before. Purely anecdotally, I talk to people who don't go to theaters very often and who go to theaters all the time, and almost to the one, they're like, I have no problem waiting.
Yes, me too.
That's
been my experience also. And I wonder too, now that I think about it, I'm not considering the fact that AMC just in about a week ago was like, yeah, I don't think we're going to make it.
Wow. Yeah. Good
so
call.
Maybe Nolan sees this as a necessary sort of CPR to the theater industry.
That could very well be. Yeah. So what Warner Brothers is going to do is, in lieu of releasing Tenet in middle of July, they're going to re-release Inception, and lull us all into thinking we're just trapped in somebody's dream. After 2 weeks after which we're like, oh hey, everything's fine. Let's watch this.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This is a developing story, but I mean, Tenet being pushed had this follow-on effect where everything else got kicked down the curb too.
Yes. So, you know what? Just real quick, do you think Inception, them putting that out, I found it very curious that they would do that just 2 weeks before on that original date for Tenet. Do you think that's their little litmus test?
Yes.
Like that's the first quote unquote, even though it's a re-release, major release from a studio with the intention of it being a major release versus like a Goonies or something. And let's just see what that looks like. And it still gives them 2 weeks to back down.
That was my interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, but well, obviously because of all these things being pushed back, this affects a bunch of things, and that includes the Oscars. So the Oscars just announced that they're going to be pushing back from, what was their original date, like February something or other. Now they're going to be, it's currently scheduled, we'll see if they hold on to this date, but April 25th, 2021.
Yeah.
But they've also said that the eligibility for movies that could be nominated is going to be pushed back too. Usually, actually I don't have that in front of me, but typically it's like January or something. They're going to give it extra time.
So it could be a
come out.
2021 release would still be eligible.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, but again, well, I mean, isn't that funny? I mean, who knows what the rest of this year looks like, and who knows what will then be nominated? Things that possibly, like Sonic the Hedgehog.
I'm pulling for the Bad Boys for Life versus Sonic the Hedgehog Best Picture competition.
Right.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, and obviously there are bigger things to concern ourselves with, but this just is kind of an amusing, interesting sort of sign of the times, I suppose.
But by the way, I mean, release dates too. I mean, it occurs to me as we're talking about this, I'm like, they are so bound and determined to stick to Christopher Nolan's, preferred date. But like, they have Warner Brothers, I mean, has no problem throwing everything else, like kicking it like Superman kicks a football,
Yeah, well, I guess that's revealing, right, of how they really feel in their hearts.
Because Matrix 4 was supposed to be next May. Mm-hmm. And I think now they're like, like, whenever, we'll see. Like, right? I think a whole year they've delayed that.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Kong has been delayed again.
Right. Oh, which that's like in the can, right?
That's been done for more than a year, I think, at this point.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And Dune, I don't even know what the deal is going to be with that.
Yeah.
So it's I think that tells you something about the esteem that Christopher Nolan is held in.
They're like, all right, well.
He better hope that Tenet is like just friggin' transcendent.
I know. Right? I know. Yeah, I think you've said, right, that, or maybe we both were talking about it, but Wonder Woman feels more like the 4-quadrant-y thing to get people out of their homes.
Yeah.
As excited as we are for Tenet.
Right.
But hey, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Yep.
But actually, well, I mean, we're talking about, there's going to be a surplus next year of films that are like ready to go, and now they just need release dates. But there's obviously all the stuff that has been paused in production that now they're trying to figure out gradually how to bring it back. And it looks like the first big movie to resume production is going to be Jurassic World Dominion.
Right. Yeah, you just sent me that thing this morning.
And yeah, this is crazy. They were in production. They paused whatever it was, like 4 months ago, and now they plan to, in the middle of July, resume production. Mm-hmm. And they've pumped millions of dollars into having like hand sanitizer and have something set up in a way that people feel safe doing it.
Yeah. Then they say like 150 sanitizing stations around the production, and
at a cost of $5 million. Mm-hmm. They're going to be doing thousands of tests. Brian, you might say that they've spared no expense.
Perfect. Beautiful.
I just love the production of the movie is a metaphor for what the movie is about.
Right.
In fact, Brian, I think this is brand new. I think Jeff Goldblum just released a statement about what he thinks about the fact that the Jurassic Park is resuming production even in the middle of this pandemic. I think we have that statement. Let's go ahead and play that.
Gee, the lack of humility before nature that's being displayed here staggers me. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And there we go. Yeah, I was, honestly, my first thought when I heard about this, I was like, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum are getting up there in age. And can we just keep them safe, please?
Yeah.
Because, yes, I want very much to see Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm back. I don't want them to die for my entertainment.
Yep.
So that's my thought about this.
I agree. It's no one likes it, but it's just, yeah, I agree. I want everyone to be safe.
Actually, speaking of Jurassic Park, I thought this was interesting. David Koepp, he of the screenplay of the first Jurassic Park, he's out there talking about some stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, Indiana Jones 5, despite all odds, I mean, it is still being developed and discussed. And so David Koepp was brought on. He wrote Last Crusade, right?
No, that was Jeb's. That was that was not. No, what was it? No,
he did. Spielberg guy.
He did Crystal Skull.
Yes, he did that. Yeah, for a while he was kind of a Spielberg guy. Like I think he did War of the Worlds, and
I don't think he did Last Crusade though. I could be wrong about that.
I'm kind of forgetting it. But anyway, he was the one who sort of kicked off the Indy 5 script. And then for a minute there, Jonathan Kasdan, who did Solo, and Dave Fogelman from This Is Us, they were working on the script. And then they brought Koepp back.
Yeah.
And now it looks like Koepp is off it again because, as we talked about several episodes ago, Steven Spielberg himself is off of Indy 5. And it was handed over to director James Mangold. And so now it sounds like, according to Koepp, that once Mangold came in, they want to give him a chance to take his shot at the story. So it sounds like it could be starting from scratch with James Mangold.
It's funny, Brian, by the way, when I read this, I read it and like I had just forgotten about Mangold, or not forgotten, but I just sort of subsumed it into my memory. And so I read it. He's like, and then Steven left and Mangold came on. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh.
Look, we both have said that we think Mangold is a very good, capable director, but every single detail here is basically crying out, don't make this movie.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, I don't feel this strongly about it, but it reminds me of Homer beating up the Hamburglar. And the kid crying out, stop, it's already dead.
I may have said this before, I can't remember, but I think ultimately when, because it's not a question of if, but when this movie is made, it'll be without Harrison Ford. That's my prediction.
I think so too. I was just about to say, I had a thought set up in my head and I already was amending it, but I don't want to see a Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie without Steven Spielberg.
Totally agree.
Period. So obviously Disney paid for the rights to the character. They're going to make something. So go do the next thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we made a comparison before to Terminator 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's, when I picture Harrison Ford in a non-Spielberg Indiana Jones movie, I picture Arnold Schwarzenegger in T3 without James Cameron.
Right.
Right. So yeah, that's a developing story. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But as we wrap things up, I do hear some music.
Oh.
All right. So what do we got, Brian? Star Wars news.
Well, looks like Star Wars Celebration this year, they've been holding out the possibility that, down the line we could still meet up and wear our robes and carry around our plastic lightsabers, but it turns out they finally conceded and said, nope, not a good idea for 2020. So Star Wars Celebration 2020 is canceled.
I'm hearing it may not be back until 2022.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see that. Why did they say specifically why?
I saw something about we will have a celebration in 2022. So maybe that was a typo.
Huh. But I don't know. That's kind of interesting. But obviously that feels like the right move.
Yeah, it says right here, Brian. I'm on Deadline. Star Wars Celebration canceled, set to return in 2022. So there it is.
2022. Okay.
So neither this year nor next year.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I wonder. I'd be actually very curious. I mean, I think we can assume why they did it, but I would just be curious to hear them say it. If it's just like, well, we even in a year we don't feel like we're going to be ready for something like this. I would feel like that's the first time I've seen a major organization even admit that, because it seems like everyone is sort of kicking the can down the street and then kicking it further, which is totally fine too. But it just seems like this is the first organization to be like, nah, a year, nah, it's still not going to be ready.
Right.
You know.
By the way, did you see the ad for this video game, Star Wars Squadrons?
Oh, I did. Yes. Yeah.
That looks pretty friggin' crazy.
Really cool. I'm totally into it. Yeah. I love Star Wars games. I know, especially since they've been with EA, they've been getting a lot of criticism, and that has a lot to do with other silly things like loot boxes and paying for things and whatnot. But that aside, I've really enjoyed the games personally.
Yeah. Have you played Jedi Fallen Order?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend and I were talking about it when it was done, and we're like, wow. I mean, they introduced these new characters. It had a really compelling ending. It's like they can come up with an original Star Wars idea that feels different but related and have it be successful. So I'm really impressed with the storytelling they do in these games. But yes, this looks super fun.
It's amazing how much more you can enjoy Star Wars when you just ignore every single conversation about Star Wars.
Right.
You know, because everyone talks about it as just awful. Mm-hmm. Even when they're complimentary, they're awful. Let's just assume. You know, but there's like so much great content.
Yes.
Because you look at this game, which they say it's VR, but I'm wondering, is it only PlayStation VR or is it like standard also?
I think it'll be VR capable.
I see.
But I'm fairly certain that it'll be, you know, I like an Xbox and, you know.
Yeah.
The average player could play it.
I was worried it was going to be PlayStation 5.
Oh, right.
Which they
I
just
guess
announced.
it'll come in just before that is released, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and PlayStation 5 is going to be backwards compatible.
Which is so nice.
Right?
Because 4 wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because my kids were watching like the various launch announcements for PS5, and they're like, "Oh, when are we getting the PS5?" I'm like, "We just got the PlayStation 4. What do you know?" I realize now what my dad went through when when I was like, "Hey, can I have a Super Nintendo?" He's like, "You have an Atari."
Right.
What's wrong with that? You know,
it looks pretty super to me.
Yeah. You know, it's like whenever you would get like the knockoff version of the thing that you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever, this was my life, and I'm sure many people can relate, where if you asked for a Transformer and you got a GoBot.
Yes, right.
It's just the worst, you know. Or you ask for a Ninja Turtle and you get like, you know, birthday party Michelangelo, and you're like, well, I didn't want that one.
Right.
Obviously, I didn't want that one, you know. Yeah. But I deal with the kids all the time. I'm like, listen, we just got this thing. Until it stops working, you're going to work with the PlayStation 4.
See, no, that's interesting because they also announced that Miles Morales game, which looks great. So I wonder, I mean, it was with the PlayStation 5 announcement, but will that be on both formats? Will they do that on PS4 also?
I would think.
I would hope so.
I was about to say, I almost feel like at this stage, you can't have as high profile a game as that and have it be only PlayStation 5.
I would think so. I feel like I'm sure some people could write in and back this up with actual hard evidence, because I don't follow video games super closely, but when you do this sort of transition period, if they put a big game on both formats, I don't know. But I like I said, I would imagine, like you're saying.
The pre-order price for this thing is like $800.
I know. Actually, it's funny. I just took a sip of coffee when you said that, and I was like, if I hadn't already known that price, I would have spit it out.
What are you, nuts?
I know.
You know, so and you know, if history tells us anything, it's that the early adopters are the ones who get, you know, shafted, because all the
bugs.
Yeah, you're working through all the problems, right? So I mean, this thing isn't going to reach mass penetration until at least a year out. You know. So, I don't know. That'll be interesting. But regardless, this Star Wars Squadrons is not a PlayStation 5 game. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it.
Another story, this is somewhat Star Wars related, but I thought it was worth mentioning, and this is that John Boyega has been out there, excuse me, front and center in the UK with all the protests that have been going on in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Really, the Black Lives Matter movement has gone international, which has been a thing to see.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, seeing it, the streets just fill up with people who've just had enough and have to raise their voice has been so powerful and amazing, seeing that here. And then, just watching all over the world, people responding with similar signs, right? And acknowledging George Floyd. And it's just been incredible.
Yeah, and John Boyega, who, of course, is an icon now.
Yeah.
Because of having been, Finn in the Star Wars films. And so he recognizes that platform, and he says, I may lose work because of this. Mm-hmm. I don't think he will lose work because of this. I think if anything, I mean, he's just shown what a dynamic presence he is, and how passionate he is. And he gave a speech talking about specifically what it means, the experience of being a black male, regardless of the country they live in, and battling systemic racism. And it was an incredibly powerful speech, and it's worth hearing. And in fact, Brian, what we should do is maybe we can close our episode by playing the audio from that speech.
Sure.
I mean, we can wrap up and play what John Boyega said as emotional and sort of heart-wrenching as it was.
Yeah, I really appreciate that idea, because I think, even like doing this show, you wonder, like, you want to speak to the times, and you don't want to make it sound like it's a thing that we're ignoring, because we do this show as sort of not a distraction, but just like a fun, joyful conversation about things that we know are silly, but that we enjoy. But, it's also a really important moment that's happening right now. And we kind of want to do both. And I think have some fun, but also take a moment to pause and pay attention to what's happening, because it is important. And I think that's a really great idea. I'm really happy to put that here at the end and re-listen to it myself.
I also want to recommend to people, if you have not seen it already, Dave Chappelle put out a special via Netflix on YouTube, and it's a half-hour, I didn't say comedy set, but it's just a full-throated primal scream, as he attempts to not make sense of everything that's happened, because truthfully it is entirely senseless, but to convey for the worldwide audience what this moment means. And it is, and he says it especially, it is the first art to emerge in this era, about this era. And so it does hold a place of historical weight. But it's also, it needs to be internalized and pondered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that, I'm going to put a pin in this episode, our own little moment in time, and I want to once again thank everybody for the comments that you give us, for or commentaries and everything else. But if you have anything else you'd like to address, or you'd like us to talk about, please let us know at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page and message us there, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. You can also find me on Twitter at Zacky's Corner, that's ZAKIS Corner, and just add a .com. That's my website. I'm also currently writing reviews for IGN.
Yes, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. That's kind of a neat thing, because that's a site I literally grew up reading. And so my review of the Five Bloods is there. You can check that out. Brian, you're still plugging away on Puppy Dog Pals?
Puppy Dog Pals, yep, which is on Disney Junior, and Disney Plus.
There you go. It's there wherever you're looking for it. Here on the Movie Film Show, coming up soon, we have our RoboCop 2 commentary track coming up, and I'm excited to discuss that, as I've said previously, so listen for that. And with that, I will leave you with the words of John Boyega just a few weeks ago. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
First of all, I want to thank every single one of you for coming out. This is very important. This is very vital. Black lives have always mattered. We have always been important. We have always meant something. We have always succeeded, regardless. And now is the time. I ain't waiting. I ain't waiting. I have been born in this country. I'm 28 years old, born and raised in London. And for time, every black person understands and realizes the first time you were reminded that you were black. You remember, every black person in here remembered when another person reminded you that you were black. So none of you out there, all those protesters on the other side, protesting against what we want to do, protesting against what we want to try and achieve, burn you, because this is so vital. Sit down. Guys, if you can sit down. If you can sit down. If you can sit down. I need you guys to understand. I need you guys to understand. I need you to understand how painful this is. I need you to understand how painful it is to be reminded every day that your race means nothing. And that isn't the case anymore. That is never the case anymore. We are going to try today. We are a physical representation of our support for George Floyd. Bang on them. Bang on them. Bang on them. We are a physical representation on our support for Sandra Bland. Bang on them. We are a physical representation on our support for Trayvon Martin. We are a physical representation of our support for Stephen Lawrence. For Mark Duggan. It is very, very important that we keep control in this moment and we make this as peaceful as possible. Exactly. We make this as peaceful and as organized as possible. Because you know what, guys? They want us to mess up. They want us to be disorganized. But not today. Not today. Not today. You know what? This message is specifically for black men. Black men. Black men, we need to take care of our black women. We need to take care of them. They are ours. They are our hearts. They are our future. We cannot demonize our own. We are the pillars of the family. Imagine this. A nation that is set up with individual families that are thriving, that are healthy, that communicate, that raise their children in love, have a better rate of becoming better human beings. That's it. And that's what we need to create. Facts. Black men, it starts with you. Hey, it's done, man. We can't be trash no more. We have to be better. Do you not understand? I'm speaking to you from my heart. Look, I don't know if I'm going to have a career after this. Fuck that black. Today is about innocent people who were halfway through their process. We don't know what George Floyd could have achieved. We don't know what Sandra Bland could have achieved. But today, we're going to make sure that that won't be an alien thought to our young ones. I'm sure you lot came today and you left your kids. And when you see your kids there aimlessly playing, they don't understand what's going on. Today is the day that we remind them that we are dedicated, and this is a lifelong dedication. Facts. Guys, facts. We don't leave here and stop, you know. Facts. We don't leave here and stop. Facts. This is longevity. Some of you are artists, some of you are bankers, some of you are lawyers, some of you own shop stores. You are important. Your individual power, your individual right is very, very important. We can all join together to make this a better world. We can all join together to make this special. We can all join together.